Welcome into Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, we deeper preview the Philadelphia Phillies series with the Colorado Rockies. And I'll tell you why the Rockies might not be as bad as their record indicates, or at least not right now. So the Phillies will have to take care of some business on a 3-game Denver road trip. Well, they got another game after that. But we'll break it all down on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is another episode of Locked On Phillies. I am your host, Connor Thomas. Don't be fooled by the haircut. If you're not watching on YouTube, yeah, my hair's short now. I had the long hair, then I had the mullet. Now I've got the short summer haircut that I normally go to because it's going to be like 87 in Philadelphia today, so I had to cut the hair short. But it's still Connor Thomas, still your host of Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you're rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you're subscribing on the YouTube if you have not yet done so. It's the best way to consume Locked On Phillies, so go ahead and do that if you haven't done that yet. Trust me, you won't regret it. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Go ahead and check out our friends over there at Gametime. The Philadelphia Phillies had an off day yesterday. It was good. Get them a little bit of rest while they travel out to Denver, the Mile High City, to take on the Colorado Rockies. It'll be the fifth, sixth, and seventh meetings for these teams. I forgot they played a 4-game series before. I forgot that yesterday too. But yes, the Phillies have played the Rockies 4 times. They're 13. They're 3-1 against them so far this year. I promise I'll work this all out as we get deeper in the episode. My ability to talk escaping me. It might be from yelling at the TV too much during the Sixers game last night, but you're probably with me on that one. But a gettable series for the Phillies at face value, right? And we talked a little bit about it yesterday. We're going to dive deeper into game 1 here in a second. But something to keep in mind with the Colorado Rockies. So they currently hold a 16-22 record. But when you look at what they've done recently, they are coming off of a series win against the Pirates, a series sweep before that, another series win against the Mets, a sweep of the Brewers. So they're 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. 5-2, 6-2, 7-2. I believe they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. That's a pretty darn good baseball team. And the Phillies are like 4-6 in their last 10. So if you look at just that, you say, okay, the record might show that Colorado is the lesser of the two teams, but the recent performance says Colorado's playing pretty well right now. And they've got a home series against the Phillies, a team that they've already seen, a team that they know a little bit about. These teams matched up last month. And while the Phillies took 3 of 4, it was at Citizens Bank Park, and the Phillies were playing well at that point. Well, the Rockies are playing really well right now. So you got an opportunity to play a team that might look a little bit tougher than what they actually, the record shows. And you're not playing the Rockies team you were playing a couple weeks ago when they were struggling and everything. No, this team started to pick it up a little bit. I don't think they're all that good of a baseball team, but they're playing well right now. And sometimes that's all that matters. Some people might say last year, some fans of the Braves or the Cardinals or the Padres or maybe even the Astros might say the Phillies in 2022 weren't all that good of a baseball team. They were just playing well right then, and that led them to the damn World Series. So you're looking at a situation where you're running into a hot team that is playing out over their skis a little bit. It'd be nice that the Phillies, who are on a 3-game winning streak right now, took care of business and slowed down the Rockies a little bit from that hot stretch they've been on. But it's going to be a tall task. Let's jump into previewing tonight's game. Taijuan Walker on the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he will be facing off against Austin Gomber. Now, Gomber has not been good this year. He's 3-4 with a 6.75 ERA, a 1.59 WHIP in 33 innings pitched. Walker is 3-2 this year with a 5.97 ERA, slightly better, a 1.41 WHIP, slightly better, 34 2/3 innings pitched, comparable. Walker's given up less hits. He struck out 13 more batters than Gomber has. You're not going to see a lot of strikeouts from Austin Gomber tonight against the Philadelphia Phillies lineup, or at least you shouldn't. And they both walked similar amounts of batters. Walker was walked 17. Gomber's walked 16. We know Walker has not been good command-wise at points this year. So that says the fact that Gomber's in the ballpark there Yeah, take your time, be selective against Gomber. They're also home run prone. Now, part of this is the fact that Colorado plays in the easiest park to hit the ball out of because of the thin air and how much it travels. The ball travels up there. Gomber's given up 6 home runs, but Walker's already given up 8. He's been crushed by the long ball so far this year. So home runs are going to be important. I believe I read a stat somewhere that the Rockies are 12-1 in games where they don't give up a home run. So they could be in a situation where if the Phillies don't go yard, it could be not tough for them to win the game. They could string together hits against Austin Gomber. But the point is, the long ball is going to be a huge part of this series, like it always is out there in Colorado. I'd expect Kyle Schwarber to play. He played in Game 2 of that series against the Blue Jays before the off day back on Wednesday when they walked off, even though he had the foot contusion. So I expect him to be available. I expect the Phillies roster, well, not roster, but the lineup that we're used to be at 100%. Gomber's a lefty. So we'll see if, I don't know, Marsh gets a day off. We'll see if Bryson Stott gets a day off. I know they just had one yesterday, but they want the lefty righty matchup as opposed to the lefty pitcher on batter matchup. I don't know how much Rob Thompson weighs that in, or if he sees a team that's playing well right now and says, hey, let's stick with the lineup as we have it. What I would prefer is for Rob Thompson to just set the same lineup as long as everyone's good to go and no one has a scheduled rest day, which they shouldn't because, again, they were off yesterday. But again, I'd really like to see Rob Thompson just set the lineup just like he had it against the Blue Jays. Let them go out there, run, and keep doing that until someone needs a day off for the Philadelphia Phillies to lose a ball game. They've won their last 3. The lineup that they have is pretty darn close to as perfect as it can get. So why change it? Why try and alter everything? And it'd be really nice too, because Taijuan Walker, he's going to be a big part of this team down the stretch. The Phillies need him to be good. They need him to be zoned in. They need him to be the guy that they paid for in free agency. He had a sub-4 ERA with the Mets last year. The Phillies need him to be a sub-4 ERA guy this year, and he can be. He's talented enough to, but he's got to work some stuff out. And with a great start from Aaron Nola against the Blue Jays and then a great start from Zach Wheeler against the Blue Jays, maybe that's some momentum building for the starting rotation where Taijuan Walker can go out and take care of business and say, okay, I'm going to have my best start of the year. I'm going to go out and get us 6 innings of 2-run ball, 7 innings of 2 or 3-run ball. Like, I'd be perfectly fine with both of those because the Phillies are going to score runs up there in Colorado with the way the ball flies. So a lot of this falls on Taijuan Walker. I'm not looking at the lineup as much. They should be able to eat against Austin Gomber. I'm looking at Taijuan Walker against the Rockies team that, they're all right, but there's not all that many super talented players that you're going to face in this lineup. You can handle them, and I'm hoping that Taijuan Walker sees that and says, okay, this is the day where I got to go out and just give them no chance to even get into this game. That's the goal. Get on Gomber early, have Taijuan Walker settle in and give you 6+ solid innings of baseball pitching, and we'll feel all that good about it. Kyle Schwarber, I'm looking at him this series. As far as the series performer to keep an eye on, I'm looking at Schwarber. Weather's starting to break. He's got 8 home runs so far this year to lead the Phillies, but that's with big slumps in the first couple months now of the year. I think he's getting close to breaking out, and that's not just because it's close to June, but kind of is as well. He's just putting together better at bats. He's seeing the ball a little bit better, it seems like, than when he was on that 0-for-21 streak, of course. I think Kyle Schwarber's due for a big series out there in Colorado. 3 games, maybe 2 home runs. I'd be super happy with that. So that's my guy to watch for the Philadelphia Phillies from the position player standpoint, and also to keep an eye on in Game 1 because lefty, it's going to be tough. He's going to have to put together good at-bats there in the middle of the lineup, especially with that ailing foot that he fouled the ball off of. So keep an eye on that. But those are my thoughts about the series and tonight's matchup, and that's what we're looking for when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies and Colorado Rockies tonight. They're going to face off at 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to go ahead and listen to every pitch of the hometown broadcast of that, go to the SiriusXM app. You just pop on the SXM app, search Phillies, and that'll pull you up the Phillies hometown radio broadcast. So you'll be able to hear everything that's going on in the game. So that's a great way to do it. It's Friday night. You might want to be at like happy hour or up by the pool. It's going to be beautiful out. No, it's a little bit later game, but it's going to be hot all night. So if you're out and about, pull it up on your phone and go ahead and handle things that way. Coming up, we're going to jump into something a little bit interesting, okay? I want to talk a little bit about Trea Turner. I want to go through his stats, talk about how he's been so far this year, because I saw some recent tweets and stories about Trea Turner struggling early. Is he really struggling? And if so, what's causing it? We're going to jump into it more as we continue this episode of Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at So Rare. You know So Rare. Baseball goes out the window when it comes to fantasy baseball. It's a revolutionary fantasy baseball game. Why is it revolutionary? Well, it's also a marketplace and it's transforming fans into owners. You're not just the coach of a team, you're the owner of digitally licensed playing cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience. You collect, you buy, you sell the cards, and you compete with those player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. It's an awesome setup. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play at all. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next level competition and rewards. So, listen to some of the rewards you could win. So Rare, the MLB game weeks, they happen twice weekly and they span a 3 to 4 day cycle. So you have 2 opportunities a week to win these rewards. And at the end of the game weeks, So Rare MLB managers who rank at or near the top of their leaderboards win a variety of rewards, which can include So Rare scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. All this stuff is available to you through So Rare. Prizes may vary depending on the competition, but go ahead and check it out. It's an awesome way to play like your daily fantasy or your weekly fantasy, however you want to see it, by just drafting your cards, keeping your cards, and trying to build your team up to be as good as it can be. So head to sorare.com/locked on. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/locked on to start playing today. All right, let's dive into this Trea Turner argument a little bit. I'm going to pull up his stats here so far from the 2023 season. So the Philadelphia Phillies, they go out and they sign Trea Turner. And I was telling you, since they signed him, oh, this guy's going to be the best player on this team. This guy's incredible. He was the All-MLB shortstop last year, best shortstop in baseball coming into this season. Phillies threw a big contract at him. And so far this year, he's batting .261 with 4 homers. And that's underwhelming compared to his career. He's a career .300 hitter. I mean, he has a silver slugger to his name. He's a 2-time All-Star. He's a World Series champion. This is a guy that's as consistent as they come. I mean, you look at his seasons and what he's put up. I'm just going back to 2015. We're not going to worry about it. It was only 40 at-bats. But 2016, which was his first main season in Major League Baseball, batted .342 in that year, .284 the year after, .271 the year after. Then here's where he turns it on. .298 in 2019. .335 in 2020, .328 in 2021, .322 in 2022, .338. Like, this guy is just, he's been incredible since there. He's just, the average has looked unbelievable. That .328 back in 2021, by the way, led the National League. He batted .298 last year for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He batted .338 the year before, which is a career high mark for a full season. And I find it hard to believe that he's going to be a .261 hitter this year, but he has been so far. And this isn't like a small sample size. We're pretty well into this season. I mean, he's played 37 games, 167 plate appearances, 157 at-bats. Scored 21 runs, has 41 hits. That's the nice thing to look at with Trea Turner, right? He's only got 41 hits. Not only, but he's got 41 hits and he's got 21 runs, which means he's scoring about 50% of the time he gets a hit. Not exactly, because you got to count the walks, of which he has 10, but that's a pretty darn good run scored average. And that's because he's got wheels and the guys sitting behind him are good. Something that I'm questioning is the number of stolen bases. I don't know what's going on there. He's only got 4 so far. Last year, he stole 27. He's led the National League twice, once with 32 and once with 43. He also had 46 back in 2017, which did not lead the National League, but still, he's got the ability to steal this many bases. And with the new rules, with the pickoffs and the bigger bases and the pitch clock, you say, okay, Trea Turner's going to be a base stealing machine. He's stolen 4 times this year. He hasn't been caught once. I don't understand why they aren't sending him more. I don't get it. That's insane to me. I think he needs to get running more to try and create more offense for the Philadelphia Phillies. So that's one thing that I wish Trea Turner would start doing more. The Phillies would start allowing him to do. The other thing, strikeouts. He has 43 strikeouts this year. That's insane. In 2021, his total amount of strikeouts that he had for the whole year was 77. I mean, or I'm sorry, that was just with one team. No, 110. He's almost halfway there already, and we're only in May. He's not a strikeout guy. You look at some of these strikeout totals for years. He had 132 in a season back in the 2000 teens, 113, 110. He had 131 strikeouts last year. He's going to strike out a little bit, but the fact that he has 41 through his first, you're looking at 167 plate appearances. You don't like to see that from a guy who was your leadoff hitter coming into the season. Now, Bryson Stott's taking over leadoff, so that gives Turner a little bit more leeway, but still, it hasn't been an exemplary start for Trea Turner. So what do I think is going wrong? Well, first of all, I think the whole timing of the season was weird. You get warmed up at spring training, and then you go to the World Baseball Classic, and it's a huge environment where everything feels elevated. And then you come back to spring training, and you're like, okay, this feels easy. But then you get into the regular season, and I think part of what it is, well, there's a couple things. The first thing I'm going to point to is that whole schedule with the World Baseball Classic taking him out of spring training, it was just different than what he's ever been used to. So I think that's something that's an adjustment from flipping around to these different type of leagues, from World Baseball Classic to spring training to regular season. That takes time. That takes adjustment. I also think that moving him around in the lineup has been questionable by Rob Thompson at points, needed at other points, because Bryson Stott deserved the bat leadoff and still does deserve the bat leadoff. He's been really good and puts together good at bats. I have no issue with Stott batting leadoff. But if you're Turner and you're like, I just signed a huge contract and I came here to bat leadoff and be the shortstop of the future or the next forever for the Philadelphia Phillies, and then all of a sudden within like a month and a half, I'm not batting leadoff anymore. Mentally, that's probably something that's taxing on him a little bit. Not like, oh, he's losing his mind. Oh, he's a bad locker room guy. Oh, he's complaining he's not batting leadoff. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you're expecting to bat in a certain spot or used to batting in a certain spot, it can be a bit of an adjustment when you get moved, even if it's just from first in the lineup to second in the lineup. And the final thing is, we saw with Nick Castellanos last year. Philly isn't an easy place to play, okay? And this is his first year in Philly. I'm sure he's all excited, and people aren't like booing Trea Turner at Citizens Bank Park, but still, the media asks a lot of questions. The pressure is higher here than it is other places. Like, you might say, oh, well, Nationals won a World Series. The Dodgers, he was on a team with World Series aspirations. How is Philly more pressure? Well, this is a team with World Series aspirations, and it's a market with a much more ravenous fan base. The Dodgers, solid baseball fan base. LA, not a huge sports town, though. Washington, I mean, not anything close to Philly. Like, this is one of the tougher places media-wise to play. You got a bunch of guys with stupid podcasts like me, who's like complaining that Trea Turner's only hitting 261. He's like, guys, I'm just partway through the season. Let me work. No, obviously I'm being kind of ironic or facetious there, whatever you want to word it. But the point is, we saw Nick Castellanos last year struggle with the adjustment to Philadelphia. Trea Turner might just be struggling a little bit early with that adjustment to Philadelphia. I wouldn't be overly concerned about him. The Phillies have enough hitters to make up for it. And if this is what the Phillies are doing without Trea Turner hitting at his peak, you add 40 points onto that batting average by the end of the year, and you say, okay, he's going to be pretty darn important to this team. So I wouldn't freak out about Trea Turner. I just figured it was worth mentioning. He's had a rough start to the season, and hopefully he'll pull out of it. But I have confidence for him too, because of those factors and how correctable they are. And maybe he'll start pulling out of it tonight. 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the game time for the Phillies versus the Rockies. Fun matchup. Phillies have the pitching advantage. Phillies have the team advantage with a 53.4% chance to win. And you can listen to every pitch of the Phillies hometown broadcast on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies. And then you'll go ahead and have that pulled up for you, and you can listen to every pitch of tonight's game. So go ahead and get that taken care of, and make sure you're checked in on tonight's game, because it should be a good one. The Phils go for their fourth in a row. It's going to be exciting. Go ahead and make sure you check out our friends at Sirius XM, who will be able to provide you with that game. Now, coming up, we're going to do a little off the poll. So what off the poll is I'm going to lay out a poll question I'm going to put out on Twitter for the weekend, and it's one about an injured Philly right now, and a guy we haven't talked about in a minute, but I want to revisit it. I want to take stock in where the Phillies are at now and where they could have been if this guy was healthy. We'll discuss as we continue Locked On Phillies. Oh, let me tell you about the Gametime app, though. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, all that good stuff that's near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun you're going to have. Yeah, everything is fun. It's going to be awesome. And you know what's fun? Not going to last night's Sixers game, unfortunately, but getting tickets when you go to that game. Could you imagine if you spent like $1,000 on that game to go watch the Sixers lose? Well, if you use Game Time, you're going to find cheaper tickets. You're going to find great prices, great seats, and everything. So even if your team loses, you still know, hey, I got a great deal. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. They got everything. Exclusive flash deals exist for tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And plus, the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same row and section for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. A lot of cool stuff. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason, guys. It's super easy. Just a couple taps and tickets are right on your phone. Don't have to sift through your email. Super simple. Snag tickets without the stress with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, let's do a little off the poll. Again, haven't done this in a minute. So if you're not familiar, I'm going to bring up a poll question. I'm going to post it on Twitter at LO_Phillies, and I'll retweet it from my account, which you can see here at Connor Thomas 975 if you're watching on the YouTube. You're going to vote. I'm not going to give you my thoughts, but you're going to vote, and then we'll talk about it on Monday's episode, the response to the poll. That way I don't bias the voters. But the Phillies have been, I don't know if you're aware of this, and again tonight, 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out every pitch of the Phillies hometown broadcast on the Sirius XM app, SXM app. Just search Phillies. Get that all squared away. You're not going to be able to hear anything about Rhys Hoskins because he's been out for the year with that ACL tear. I'm very interested in where the fan base thinks that Rhys Hoskins will be. Put on your thinking caps a little bit for me with this one because I know a lot of people aren't thinking about Rhys Hoskins right now. Just kind of an accepted thing. They're without him. We're far enough into the season that we're not really looking back like, oh, Rhys Hoskins this and Rhys Hoskins that, like we were the first couple weeks of the season when they were trying out Derek Hall, and then the Derek Hall injury happened, and then Alec Bohm moved over to first, or Cody Clemens, or all those things there. No, Rhys Hoskins has been a little out of sight, out of mind. I want to bring him back in and ask you, if Rhys Hoskins was healthy for the Philadelphia Phillies this year, if he had played through this season like normal, right now where the Philadelphia Phillies are, which one more time, I just want to make sure I give you the proper record so you have an idea. The Phillies are 18-19 so far in the year. One game below 500, can get to 500 tonight in Colorado against the Rockies. How much different, or how do you think Rhys Hoskins playing would affect where the Phillies record is right now? I'm going to give you four options. The first option is for the Rhys Hoskins haters out there, and I know you exist. First option is they'd be worse with Rhys Hoskins than they are right now. Second option, no change. You don't think they'd be any better, any worse with Rhys Hoskins. They'd be in the same spot. Don't think he would have made an impact. Third option is going to be marginal impact, 2 to 3 games better. And the final option is going to be 4+ games better if Rhys Hoskins was playing. So there you have it. They'd be worse. They'd be in the same spot, marginally better, which again, I'm going to just term as 2 to 3 wins better, or much better, 4+ wins better than where they're at right now with Rhys Hoskins. I'm just interested to see how you feel about how Alec Bohm has played, what Derek Hall gave you early on in the season, and how much you miss Rhys Hoskins, because Phillies are going to have to decide whether or not to pay him this offseason, especially with the ACL injury. That becomes a lot tougher to decide. So just wanted to feel the pulse of the fan base on Hoskins since we haven't thought about him in a little bit. So I'll post that up on Twitter. You'll have a chance to respond. We'll get back after that on Monday. And that's all for today's Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for checking us out on Locked On Phillies. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube yet, go ahead and do so. You'll get the notifications of when new episodes are posted. It's super simple. Doesn't cost you anything. Takes like 2 seconds to do. Makes your experience listening and viewing so much better. Helps me out as well. So it's a win-win-win-win-win. If I'm keeping track of all the reasons why you should subscribe to Locked On Phillies on YouTube. And thanks if you're just listening. Of course, we love you too. So thank you for checking in on Locked On Phillies, however you do so. And I will talk to you on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.